In the final moments captured on surveillance footage, you can see her trying to escape. The car door opens, a desperate attempt at freedom. Then hands pull her back inside. The door slams shut with force. That was September 11th, 2025, at 3:27 p.m. 24-year-old Yoon Jae would never be seen alive again. 7 hours later, her father would call the police. He knew something was catastrophically wrong. His daughter always responded to his messages. Always. But this story doesn't begin with violence. It begins with a dream, a stage, and a man who called himself Black Cat. Yoon Jae had a simple dream. She wanted to act. Born on October 2, 2000, she was doing what thousands of aspiring actors in South Korea do, building an audience anywhere she could find one. TikTok became her stage. Her live streams became her auditions. She posted fashion videos, cafe outings, and dance covers to popular K-pop songs like Folded by Kalani and tracks by Cat's Eye. Her content sparkled with lighthearted commentary delivered in her signature, bubbly energy. She called her followers the Bread Family, a playful nod to her genuine love for bread and pastries. Her TikTok name even featured croissant emojis. It wasn't just an aesthetic choice. Friends and followers knew that Yoon genuinely loved bread, often sharing clips of herself enjoying fresh pastries from local bakeries. Each piece of content was another line on an invisible resume she hoped casting directors would someday notice. Between streams, Yoon went to actual auditions. She shared glimpses of her theater work on Instagram, documenting her journey in the performing arts. Small roles, bit parts, background work. The unglamorous reality of breaking into South Korea's brutally competitive entertainment industry. But she was persistent, hardworking, optimistic. Beyond her content creation, Yoon was multifaceted in ways her followers found endearing. She practiced flying yoga and had been working towards certification just months before her death. She danced not just for content, but because she genuinely loved it. She documented her fitness journey and her attempts to master new skills with the same enthusiasm she brought to everything else. When she wasn't creating content or auditioning, she was home with her 3 cats, Boo, Yeppy, and Tori. She'd talk about them on stream, show them to her followers. But her care for animals extended beyond her own pets. She documented feeding and caring for stray cats she encountered on the streets, showing a compassionate side that made her followers love her even more. Her father was her biggest supporter. He would watch her broadcast religiously, leaving encouraging comments like, "You're doing great, sweetie, and keep going." That kind of dad. Their relationship was close, warm, and built on genuine mutual support and love. By September 2025, Yoon had built something real, over 350,000 followers who genuinely enjoyed watching her. Many of her TikTok videos had more than 100,000 views, with some surpassing the million mark. It wasn't fame yet, but it was momentum, a foundation she could build on. And then someone noticed. Someone who seemed like exactly the break she'd been waiting for. He went by Black Cat online. In South Korea's live streaming economy, there's a visible hierarchy. Viewers can purchase virtual gifts for their favorite streamers, and platforms like Africa TV and TikTok live track who spend the most. The platform's ranking system goes from level 1 to level 50, with spending determining status. The biggest spenders get special badges, VIP recognition, and preferential treatment. They're treated like royalty in the comment sections. Black Cat had reached level 46, a tier that required spending approximately 100 million Korean won, somewhere between $68,000 and $75,000. Some industry insiders reported he may have spent even more. To reach the maximum level 50 would require spending over $110,000. This wasn't just a fan. This was a benefactor. A whale, as the industry calls them. Someone with seemingly limitless resources who had chosen to support Yoon's channel specifically. Other streamers looked at Black Cat with envy. Yoon's supporters saw him as proof that she was going places. He became a fixture in her streams, always watching, always donating, always there. In South Korea's streaming community, he was described as royalty in the social media world. And then, one day, he sent her a message with an opportunity. He introduced himself properly, the CEO of an IT company with extensive knowledge of the TikTok and live streaming market. He claimed to possess proprietary insights into platform algorithms, audience psychology, and growth strategies that could exponentially increase her subscriber base and visibility. He'd helped other small creators become stars, he said. He had industry connections, insider knowledge. He wanted to manage her professionally. For Yoon, this must have felt like destiny. Here was someone who had already proven his investment in her success, $70,000 worth of proof, now offering to formalize that support. He would guide her content strategy, optimize her schedule, manage her online presence, and leverage his supposed industry connections, all for approximately 20% of her profits. A standard industry management arrangement. When Yun's agency reviewed the proposal, they conducted due diligence. They looked at his credentials. They saw other influencers he'd apparently helped. The proposal seemed legitimate enough. Professional gatekeepers gave their blessing. She signed an exclusive contract. This was supposed to be her breakthrough. Instead, it became her cage. The changes started small. Reasonable, even. Stream more frequently. Go live at different times to catch international audiences in different time zones. Extend your broadcast from 2 hours to 3, then 4. These were conventional growth strategies that made logical sense. Yoon complied. But Choi, the man behind the black cat person, didn't stop there. The streams stretched to 6 hours daily with only minimal 30-minute breaks in between. Then longer. Then 12-hour marathons that consumed Yun's entire life. This escalation didn't reflect Yun's desires or creative vision. It was entirely driven by Choi's coercive demands. He insisted this relentless schedule was the only way to gain a lot of following and money. Friends noticed Yun looked exhausted. The bright, bubbly energy that made her content appealing was being ground down into something hollow, mechanical. The physical and emotional toll became increasingly visible to those around her. But Choi's control extended far beyond simply dictating when and how long Yun should stream. He watched every second of every stream. And he had notes. Constant, invasive, micromanaging notes. Don't look at the screen while singing. Don't focus on any single viewer too long. Modify your vocal performance. That note was flat. Limit how much you respond to questions. Smile here. Not like that. Like this. Follow countless other micro-directives about her presentation and behavior. If she deviated from his instructions, he would reportedly burst out in rage. If she voiced her own opinion about her content, her own creation, he'd manipulate the situation back onto her. I'm spending all my time out of my day to care about you and your career. I watched 12 hours of your streams to make sure you succeed. Why are you not understanding where I'm coming from? The financial arrangement kept her compliant. Choi took 20% of everything she earned, donations, sponsorships, all income streams. He had a direct financial stake in her productivity, which he used to justify his intensive involvement. But it also meant Yun's income was tied to maintaining this relationship, creating economic pressure to tolerate behavior that was clearly crossing boundaries. But it went beyond the streams. Far beyond. One afternoon, Yun met a friend for coffee during what should have been personal time. Her phone exploded with notifications, over 30 messages from Choi in rapid succession. Turn your location back on. Who were you with? What are you discussing? He had been tracking her location through an app, watching her. When Yun confronted him about the overwhelming surveillance, about crossing boundaries, Choi responded with guilt-inducing manipulation that blamed her for not appreciating his dedication. This wasn't management. This was an obsession. Control. Possessiveness. Something far darker than any professional relationship should ever be. And by early September 2025, Yun was connecting the dots. She suspected she was being taken advantage of. Then the cracks in Choi's carefully constructed image began to show. The wealthy CEO? Fiction. The IT company? Fabrication. The man who had spent $70,000 to reach VIP status on her streams? He'd done it with borrowed money. All of it. In reality, Choi was drowning in enormous debt. He'd borrowed hundreds of millions of Korean won, using his family home as collateral. His financial desperation extended to converting his family's long-term lease into a monthly rental contract without his father's knowledge, pocketing approximately 800,000 won, about $550, that he then failed to pay for months. His house was being seized, sold through forced auction. Everything was collapsing. The immense amount of money he'd spent on Yun's streams wasn't evidence of wealth. It was evidence of compulsive, reckless spending, financed entirely through borrowed money from loan sharks and mortgages he could never repay. Behind the glamorous VIP reputation was a man suffocating under catastrophic economic pressure, using digital platforms to create an illusion of success while his real life crumbled. When Yoon discovered the truth that her manager was a fraud, drowning in personal debt, she made a decision. She was ending the partnership. Completely. Due to exhaustion from Choi's coercive instructions, unreasonable schedules, and now this revelation about his fabricated identity, she wanted out. Choi did not take this well. September 10, 2025. Surveillance cameras near Yun's apartment building captured what happened next. Choi approached her outside her building. You can see Yoon instinctively step backward, away from him. There's fear in her body language. He dropped to his knees. His body language appeared frantic, panicked, desperate. He begged her to reconsider, to give him another chance. All that time, all that money, it couldn't be for nothing. Yoon shook her head. No. She stood firm, refusing his pleas and maintaining her decision. That's when his demeanor shifted. Multiple accounts described that after Yoon refused his begging, Choi suddenly became aggressive. He lunged forward and snatched her phone from her hands. An intimidation tactic. He talked to her for an extended period. Reports indicate she tried to leave the situation multiple times but found herself unable to extract herself safely. Eventually, he left, but the situation would catastrophically escalate the very next day. On the morning of September 11, 2025, Choi's house was seized and sold through auction. The collateral he'd used for loans was finally claimed by his creditors. Everything he'd built, every lie he'd told, was collapsing in real time. That same afternoon, around 3 p.m., Yoon completed what would be her final live stream from Yeongjong Island in Incheon. Viewers saw nothing unusual. She smiled, laughed with her signature bright personality, and interacted with her fans in her bubbly way. She said goodbye, ended the broadcast. Her father, watching as he always did, left an encouraging comment. He had no idea what was about to happen. Approximately 30 minutes after her stream ended at 3:27 p.m., surveillance cameras captured Yoon inside Choi's vehicle. They were arguing. The footage shows the tension, the disagreement. Then you see Yoon trying to open the door, trying to escape the car. Her family members would later describe watching this footage. The detective said that the camera captured the door closing forcefully as she tried to get out of the car. But Choi grabbed her, forcibly pulling her back inside. The door slammed shut with force. Yoon was trapped. What happened next occurred away from any cameras. Inside that vehicle, Choi unleashed a brutal assault on Yoon Jae. Forensic examination revealed that she suffered severe injuries to her face. The beating was so intense that one source described her facial injuries as leaving her severely deformed. Her torso and limbs were covered in purple and blue bruises from the violence. Autopsy findings revealed cracked ribs from the attack. CT scans found multiple bone fractures in her collarbone. Her abdomen was filled with blood. Approximately 80% of her total blood volume had accumulated there from internal hemorrhaging caused by the assault. Investigators found skin under her fingernails. She had scratched and clawed at her attacker, fighting with everything she had to survive. But after beating Yoon into submission, Choi strangled her. The official cause of death, confirmed through autopsy, asphyxiation due to neck compression. Yoon Jae was 24 years old. She would have turned 25 on October 2nd, less than a month away. Choi had come prepared. Before committing the murder, he brought along a large suitcase. With Yoon dead, his focus shifted entirely to concealing the body. He drove back to his former home in Seoul, the house that had just been seized that morning. Witnesses reported seeing him at his residence, dragging that large suitcase from the building. He loaded it into his vehicle and departed. Inside that suitcase was Yoon Jae's body. He headed for the mountains. His destination was Muju County in North Jeolla Province, a remote area over 180 miles, nearly 300 kilometers from where Yoon had been last seen alive. The location was chosen specifically because it was quiet, rural, and visited only by occasional hikers. The journey took more than 3 hours. In an effort to confuse investigators and create false trails, Choi made 8 separate stops along the route. These stops were deliberate attempts to mislead authorities by creating a zigzagging pattern across the country. He pulled over in towns, changed direction, paused along the highway, as anything to throw investigators off his track. While Choi believed he was outsmarting the system, he was actually making himself appear significantly more suspicious and creating a detailed digital trail that would ultimately lead to his arrest. By nightfall or early morning on September 12th, Choi reached the secluded mountainside in Muju. Under the cover of darkness, he dragged the suitcase from the road, opened it, and dumped Yun's body into the grass on the mountainside. Then he tried to drive away, but his car got stuck in a ditch on the remote mountain road. When Yun didn't come home that evening and didn't respond to her father's messages, behavior was completely out of character for her. His concern escalated to alarm. He called. No answer. He called again. Still nothing. 7 hours of silence from a daughter who always responded. At 4:22 a.m. on September 12th, he reported his daughter missing to the police. Yun's parents immediately drove to Yongjong Island, where she conducted her final live stream to search for their daughter. When they couldn't locate her, they remained in close contact with authorities, providing any information that might help. During the investigation, officials reviewed surveillance footage from the area and found a crucial clip of Choi forcibly dragging Yun into his vehicle during the murder. They were able to trace Choi's sporadic route. Those 8 stops he thought would confuse them actually created a perfect breadcrumb trail leading all the way to the mountains. At 5 a.m. on September 13th, just 12 hours after beginning their search, investigators discovered Yoonjae's remains on a mountainside in Muju County. About 50 meters away from her body, they found something else, a vehicle stuck in a ditch. Choi's vehicle. And Choi himself was still there, desperately attempting to free his car from the mud. When investigators approached and asked for identification, Choi panicked. He tried to run. They stopped him, detained him on the spot. Initially, Choi proclaimed his innocence. We argued and then parted ways, he claimed, denying all charges when first taken into custody. But police possessed overwhelming evidence. Hours of surveillance footage show him forcing Yun into his vehicle. 8 separate witnesses who had seen him during his stops. His vehicle was stuck near the crime scene. His physical presence is mere meters from the body. The suitcase. The timeline was perfectly aligned. When investigators informed Choi that they had found Yun's body nearby, he completely broke down emotionally. The facade shattered. He confessed on the spot to murdering Yoonjae. As details of the case emerged and made national headlines, one revelation sparked particular public outrage. This wasn't Choi's first victim. According to multiple reports, in December 2023, just 9 months before he killed Yun, Choi had been investigated for assaulting and unlawfully confining another woman who was active on TikTok. He had employed the same tactics to gain the creator's trust, presenting himself as wealthy, becoming a major donor, and offering business partnerships. At the time of Yun's murder in September 2025, Choi was actively on trial without detention for the December 2023 assault and confinement charges. He had posted bail. He was free. It was during that window of freedom, while supposedly facing justice for violence against one female content creator, that he targeted, controlled, and ultimately murdered another. This revelation sparked massive public outrage throughout South Korea and internationally. Many argued that the system had catastrophically failed to protect Yun. If proper restrictions, monitoring, or detention had been imposed after his first documented offense against a female creator, if authorities had recognized the pattern and the danger he posed, Yoonjae might still be alive. The case shook South Korea's streaming community and renewed fears about parasocial fan relationships spiraling into violence, about the vulnerability of content creators, and about the dangers of the influencer economy's financial incentive structures that create these toxic power dynamics. As of today, specific information about Choi's trial verdict and final sentencing has not been publicly disclosed in available sources. While his trial was described as ongoing in late 2025, legal experts speculate that, given the severity of the crime, the premeditation involved, and his prior history of violence, Choi will receive a long and severe sentence. The case generated massive public attention throughout South Korea and internationally. News outlets dubbed him the Black Cat Killer, a man who pretended to be a guardian angel while slowly tightening the noose around his victim's life. The hashtags #JusticeForYun and #InfluencerSafety trended across major platforms as people demanded systemic changes to protect content creators. On September 20th, 2025, Yun's family posted a heartbreaking tribute on her TikTok account. They wrote, "Our precious Jia has left this world. and her hearts are broken beyond repair. She was a gentle sunrise, warming the coldest mornings. She was laughter carried on the wind and the quiet comfort in a crowded room. Jia loved bread, reached out to every soul she met, cherished her family, and filled even ordinary moments with light. Now, the world feels a little dimmer without her radiant smile. Yet in every shared memory, in every echo of her kindness, her light still glows. To everyone who loved Jia, thank you for holding her in your hearts. As you remember her, please send your warmest wishes for her peace and joy in a place free from pain. Though Jia walks no longer beside us, her love and laughter will bloom forever within our hearts like flowers that never fade. Her father told reporters he still cannot sleep. He continues to hear his daughter's voice, asking him to get justice for her. Yun Jie wanted to be an actress. She wanted to tell stories, to perform, to create something meaningful. She worked towards certification in flying yoga. She danced because she loved it. She cared for stray cats on the street. She made her followers laugh and feel connected. Instead, her story became a warning about predators who hide behind screens and fabricated personas, about systems that fail to protect vulnerable people, about the price of dreams in a digital age where parasocial relationships can turn deadly. She was 24 years old. She had 3 cats named Gu, Yeppy, and Tori. She loved bread, theater, and her family. Her father always left encouraging comments on her streams, and she deserved so much better than this. Please, if you found this case compelling, please consider sharing it, subscribing to more true crime stories, and leaving your thoughts in the comments below.